See, my today's topic is investigation of title while purchasing a flat. Now, why does investigation of title become so important? See, basically, investigation of title is very essential since the ownership of property is required to be complete, fair, and free from any doubts, risk, and interest. Investigation of title basically means checking the ownership rights of the seller in the specific property. Clear title to a property is one of the most important factors to be considered before purchasing the said property. It is very important to note that in a sale transaction, a purchaser derives all and whatsoever right, title, and interest the vendor has in the property. Along with this right, title, and interest, he also takes over the liabilities of the vendor. If there is any impediment in his title, the same gets transferred with the ownership rights to the purchaser. Investigation becomes very important. Investigation involves the review and examination of the right to sell the specific immovable property. Whether the person selling the immovable property is having the full and absolute right to sell that specific property or not. The origin of investigation of title lies in the Latin maxim commonly referred as doctrine of caveat emptor, which means let the buyer beware. In simple language, I would say that it means the purchaser and or his advocate is required to verify and investigate the title of the vendor to the property. It basically emphasizes that a purchaser should not be ignorant of the nature of the property which he is buying from another party. If a purchaser fails to investigate the title of the property, then he is deemed to know the things which he could have discovered had he undertaken the usual investigations. Thus, to ensure this, an investigation is much needed so that the purchaser can take all necessary steps at the time of acquiring the property to obtain a good, clear, and marketable title to the concerned property. Now, what is required to be seen in investigation of title? What are the attributes of ownership, basically? The attributes of ownership are: 1. Right to have and to get possession. Right to prevent interference by others. I should be allowed to use my property without any interference from any other person. I should have the power of alienation. I should be able to use my property as per my own will. I should be able to enjoy the fruits of the property. I should be able to change its form, destroy it, and even remake it. The impact and advantages of investigation of title have been provided in Section 41 of the Transfer of Property Act. This section clearly provides that where a person who represents himself to be the real owner, without any objection of any nature whatsoever from the real owner, transfers the said property to a third party, the transfer shall not be voidable at the instance of such transferor of the real owner. Such transfer will not be voidable at the instance of the real owner on the ground that the transferor was not authorized to make it. But there is a proviso to this, that it is necessary that the transferee should have taken reasonable care and must have acted in good faith. Thus, what is important is that one should have taken reasonable care to ascertain the title to the property, and he should have acted in good faith. Now, what is the process of investigation of title? What all stages are involved in this? So I would say the very first stage is perusal of the title documents. This relates to the title deeds, the agreements for sale, and the sale deeds which have been exchanged with respect to the specific flat or the specific property concerned. the second, since this is related to flat, I would say you should one of the things is perusal of the approved plans, OC, latest PR card, assessment bills, etc. You are also required to conduct the search in the records of the society. Then a search with the Office of the Sub-Registrar of Assurances. You can also issue public notice in 2 local newspapers, one English and one local language. And you can raise requisitions on title to the property to the vendor. Now, since it is related to flats, basically I would restrict myself to the purchase and sale of flats. Now, there is first sale of the flats and there are subsequent sales. By first sale, I mean when you purchase it from the builder. So in the case of first sale, that is when you purchase the flat from the developer, when the building is under construction, the following documents need to be checked even before paying the token money. The first and the most important thing to be seen is whether the project is registered with RERA or not. Section 3 of RERA Act 2016 provides that no promoter shall advertise, market, book, sell, or offer for sale or invite to purchase in any manner in any project without getting the real estate project with the respective RERA authority registered. Hence, one should definitely, as a first and foremost thing, check the registration number of the concerned project and peruse the various details as are available on the registration page of the project. When you open the registration page of the project, you will find several documents attached in the registration page. One of those documents is the title certificate. So I would suggest you should first yourself read the title certificate and examine yourself as to whether you are satisfied with the title. Forget the lawyer, but whether you are yourself satisfied with the title. So this involves a very important thing, because earlier what used to happen is you were required to first pay any token money to the builder. This is pre-RERA period I am talking about. In the pre-RERA period, first you had to pay some token, you had to pay some money, and only then the developer would have parted with the documents. But now they are readily available with you on the website. So open the website, check the documents which are available there. From the title certificate, at least there is a basis to start with whether the title is clear or not, and if there are any impediments in the title to the land, the title certificate would clearly state it. Then there is also a model agreement for sale in the attachment section. This model agreement for sale would specify the nature and the extent of right which you would get in the specific flat which you are desirous of purchasing. The nature of construction, the number of the floors, the number of flats on the floor, amenities, etc. All those things would be included in the agreement for sale. One should also check as to whether the date of completion of the project given in the model agreement coincides with the date as stated by the promoter to the purchaser. Then one should also check the IOD plans and the commencement certificate. The commencement certificate clearly provides the flow till which the project is passed. So when you are purchasing a flat, you should check whether your floor is passed or not. The floor on which you are getting the flat, in which you are purchasing the flat. So it is of utmost importance that the commencement certificate should be there for that floor. From the website, one should also verify the various litigations that are pending in the project and should make an assessment as to whether it would impact on the completion of the project. Now I would come to subsequent sales. By subsequent sale, I mean a sale where you are purchasing not from the developer but from an allottee or a subsequent purchaser of the flat. So this is second and onward sale. In such transactions, you are required to see the entire chain of title deeds. In these title deeds, what you are required to see the extent of the right, title, and interest of the vendor in the flat, shares, and to the common areas and amenities in the building. You should very importantly check whether all these documents in the chain of title deeds are registered or not. If the vendor pleads that that any registered documents have been lost, the vendor should be inquired into whether the flat is mortgaged or not. Because if the flat is mortgaged, then the mortgagee has a prior right on the flat. You need to get that mortgage cleared, that charge cleared, even before becoming the owner of the flat. If the vendor says that it is not mortgaged, then you are required to call upon him to lodge a complaint with the local police station and also give a public notice for the loss of title deeds. You should also check whether the name of the vendor appears as a member of the society in the share certificate or not. Similarly, the maintenance receipt should also stand in the name of the vendor. You should also check with the society as to whether there are any dues pending with respect to the concerned flat, even before the completion of the sale. You should also check whether they are ready to give you NOC or not. Similarly, with the income tax department, you are required to check whether there are any dues with respect to the income tax with respect to the flat. Similarly, you have to check the electricity bills, gas bills, and all other utility bills. Now, I would come to the next aspect. Suppose if the owner of the flat is a minor, or one of the owners, one of the vendors is a minor. This typically happens in a case where the original owner, he expires and one of his legal heirs is a minor. In such a case, usually what happens is the natural guardian of the minor says that I will sign for and on behalf of the minor, and you purchase the flat. Many a times in ignorance, you go and purchase the flat. But the law says when a minor's property is being sold, it cannot be sold without the court's permission. In the case of Saroj versus Sundar Singh and others, reported in 2013-15 SCC to 727, it was pleaded by the mother of the minor children that the property was sold for meeting the expenses of the minor children. However, the Supreme Court observed that since the sale was without the permission of the court, the sale is voidable at the instance of the minors. Now, what do you mean by this? Voidable means when the minor attains the age of majority, that is 18 years of the age. After that, within a period of 3 years from that date onwards, the minor can file a proceeding saying that he does not agree to the sale of the particular immovable property, in this case of the flat, and he can say that he wants to repudiate the contract. He wants to cancel the contract. Such a transaction is voidable at the instance of the minor. The minor can say that he does not agree with the contract, and the purchaser is in a queue. In the same case, the Supreme Court further observed that a person is entitled to avoid such a sale either if he is the minor himself or any person claiming under him, or his legal representative in the event of his death, or his successor in interest claiming under him by reason of transfer inter vivos. Such an action must be brought within the period prescribed for such a suit, that is 3 years, as stipulated under Article 60 of the Limitation Act 1963. Now I come to the next thing. If your vendor is a Hindu, then you have to ascertain whether the flat is a self-acquired property or whether it is a property which belongs to a Hindu undivided family. Because in the case of Adiveppa and others versus Bhimappa and another, the Supreme Court of India has held that all assets pertaining to HUF are to be treated as joint property of Hindu undivided family unless the contrary is proved as self-acquisition of property through valid documents. So if it is an ancestral property, it will be deemed to be HUF property. Unless you can prove that you have acquired by way of a will or by some other way, by a way of a joint family arrangement or a gift or a release or some way whereby it should be treated as your self-acquired property and not your HUF property. So unless a contrary thing is proved, it will be deemed to be a HUF property. Now what happens if it is a HUF property? Why am I stressing so much on that? Because in the case of an HUF property, the consent of all the members of the HUF is necessary. However, in the case of Keher Singh and others versus Nachittar Kaur and others, the Supreme Court has ruled that the Karta of the family can sell his share in ancestral property on account of legal necessity, even without obtaining due consent of the other co-partners. However, the evidence of legal necessity shall be appropriately showcased in such cases. So, it is the Karta will have to appropriately show if your agreement for sale should deal with the legal necessity, should deal with this aspect, and then it should be entered into. Why is it essential? It is essential because in such cases, it is upon the assignee, the purchaser, is required to prove that there was a legal necessity. The onus, the burden of proof is not on the Karta. The burden of proof is on the purchaser. So that is why it is necessary to check, and if it is without the consent of the other co-partners, it is necessary to find to prove the legal necessity in your agreement for sale. Further, in the case of Raghuvansh Mani Prasad Narayan Singh versus Ambika Prasad Singh, it has been held by the Supreme Court that alienation made without legal necessity is not void but merely voidable. This means it is voidable at the instance of the other co-partners. So they can say that we are not agreeable to such a sale. Now I would come to when the flat belongs to a company. When the flat belongs to the company, one is expected to take a search of the registrar of companies. In the registrar or in the records of the registrar of companies, one would find the various charges that are registered with respect to the flat. Secondly, one is also expected to inspect whether there are any notices for winding up of the company. If there is any notice or a petition filed for winding up of the company, then then there is a moratorium period, and taking over of such assets is not permissible under law. Now I would come to auction sales. In the case of auction sales, usually what is the term? The term is that the flat is being sold on as is where is basis and as is what is basis. In the case of a contract of sale of any immovable property, the seller thereunder is duty bound to disclose only the latent defects of which he is aware. What do you mean by latent defects? Latent defects are such which are unlikely to be discovered by the purchaser during inspection. On the other hand, defects that are discoverable if a buyer would have carried out inspection with due diligence are termed as patent defects. In the case of contracts involving the clause of as is where is basis, the courts have excused the seller of their statutory duty to disclose the material defects and the title deeds. In the case of United Bank of India versus Official Liquidator and others, it has been held that the purchaser is deemed to have purchased the property subject to all encumbrances, liens, and claims where it has been sold on as is where is basis. Hence, in such auction sales, the purchaser is required to check all claims on the flat, including claims by other creditors, government authorities, society, etc. With this, I would finish my this thing.